Hi, it's Cameron Shackle from ActiveADAPTER, and this is just a quick demo of our Azure AD adapter, which is the complement to our Windows on-premises Active Directory adapters. Pretty much the same style of adapters, both send and receive, covering just about everything you need to do with Azure AD. So if I take you through, there's our current Azure AD portal, just me there as a user. And here's a typical BizTalk demo setup with a couple of send and receive ports, sending files in and out of adapters. The Azure AD adapter is just the transport that comes up here, just like any other adapter. The config looks similar to our on-premises AD interface. A couple of differences. There's a connection tab which lets you put in all the details for your connection to Azure. Just a couple of advanced settings I'll explain in our documentation, and on each of our config pages we've added a query tool, because with Azure AD it's particularly useful to be able to just do ad hoc queries. For one thing, to know that your connection's working, and for another, to look up values which are hard to get your hands on sometimes through the Azure AD portal when you're building queries particularly. So as usual, as with our on-premises stuff, we provide a lot of sample XML that helps you get started with your own provisioning solution. Here's a scenario where we've got a couple of new users being created. If I copy and paste those, they'll create a couple of new users, one called Interactive, one called Bob Biz. There's a bunch of other XML there that'll do things like update passwords and locations, and a couple of interesting ones there that let you upload photos from base64 strings, or you can also upload them from files. And some other interesting functions there are assigning one user as another user's manager, adding a user to a role, assigning a license to a user, which is usually a pretty important provisioning task with Office 365 licenses and so on. And you also take licenses away, so you can use the adapter as a license management solution. You can also do the same with applications. Invalidate refresh tokens, which is sort of the Azure AD naming for disabling an account. You can also create groups and add users to groups, of course, take users out of groups, that type of thing, and then also delete users. So those messages went through the adapter and up to our Azure AD. And so if I refresh this view of the portal now, we should see a couple of new users being created. And there we go, we've got one Interactive and one Bob Biz, and their photos have come up as well. If we click on Interactive, we'll see some other info will have been created for her. Addresses and usage locations and so on. So that's the receive side of the adapter. And there's also, of course, that was the send side of the adapter. There's also, of course, the receive side, which has a similar configuration, but there you put in your own query, and there's some examples there, and that query will be run each polling interval, in this case 15 seconds. And you also have the choice, as with our on-premises AD adapters, of running standard queries, which returns the full query results at every polling interval, or a differential query, which just returns results if there's been a change in the objects in scope. In the case of Azure AD, we use the differential query API that Microsoft provide with the Azure AD API. And a lot of advanced settings that let you get your data back the way that you need it to flow through BizTalk and into other systems. There's also the connection tab and the query tool again, which lets you run ad hoc queries and find the values you need for developing spot-on queries. So that's the ActiveADAPTER Azure AD adapters, which are the complement to our on-premises Active Directory adapters, which gives you full specialist coverage of Active Directory both on-premises and in Azure. So if you've got any questions, or you just want to try out the adapters with our 30-day demo, head to ActiveADAPTER.com, or if you want to send me an email, it's Cameron@ActiveADAPTER.com. Thanks for watching and happy BizTalking.